12-step gameplay instructions. This is fun and a powerful sharing experience for those in 12-step recovery. Serenity points are used to show your game score. Spin to see how many serenity points are gained or lost, or you can use optional dice enclosed. Examine all aspects of 12-step recovery through this remarkable board game. This has the knowledge of all the workings of 12-step recovery. Working the steps, working on character defects, working with a sponsor, service work, meetings, and the fellowship to combat the consequences of alcoholism and addictions. The board game can be played with recovering friends around a table. 2 to 8 people can play this game at a time, and the game can last 1 to 2 hours. It can also be used for a sponsor to play with their sponsees who they are mentoring as a sharing tool. The game can be used at 12-step meetings, breaking into squads up to 8. Game board. The 3 rings of the game represent areas that people come into recovery: treatment, orange ring; home, yellow ring; and the jail, blue ring. There are more opportunities in increasing serenity points towards the outer rings and more risk of losing points through natural consequences and legal issues towards the inner rings. When a player goes to treatment or jail rings, they spend 3 turns on that ring and then return to their home ring. Once in home ring, player will stay there unless they land on a go to jail tile or a go to treatment tile. The person will then switch to the ring designated and complete the task requested before their turn is over. The person will then again stay on that ring for 3 turns, then return to home environment. Serenity point scorecard. Serenity points are used as a gauge to determine security of staying abstinent, sober in the game, which are added on a scorecard that is given to each player. At the beginning of the game, a person is awarded 150 serenity points and placed on their scorecard as a grace of motivation to seek recovery. Scorecard is used to keep score of serenity points during the game. The back of the scorecard has a list of character defects, which may be used to review when landing on a character defect tile. A player practices self-disclosure when landing on certain tiles such as step work, character defects, thinking errors, stinkin' thinking, family work, and relapse prevention. Once completing any of these tasks in a sincere way, they earn and receive 100 serenity points. This is the fun aspect of the game. Consequence or legal issue tile. The card designated by the tile could represent a positive or negative impact. Once the player landing on the tile reads their card aloud, if it is negative, they can attempt to persuade the group that it was a positive learning experience. The group consensus gives either a thumbs up or thumbs down. If the group gives a thumbs down, they spin to see how many points they lost, but if a thumbs up, they would spin the arrow to see how many points they receive. Player spins the arrow pointing to 1 to 12 on the game board and then multiplies by 10 times to determine score received or subtracted, so 10 to 120 serenity points. Playing the game. The game board is rolled out on the table. The game cards are placed on their designated location on the game board. Want to add your own personal touch to the game? Blank business cards are included for personal touches to all card categories. Each player receives 1 colored token, a scorecard, and a fine point dry erase marker to keep their score. Players sit around the game board. The player with the shortest period of sobriety or recovery starts first and then goes clockwise. First person to begin the game writes in 150 serenity points, which is given to each player when starting the game. The points represent grace that is received by their commitment to participate in 12-step programs. When putting the game back in the tube, first roll the game board up with the spinner on the outside as rolled. Arrow use. Arrow is spun initially to determine which ring a player begins on, designated in the inner circle of 1/4 moon, jail, blue ring; home, yellow ring; or treatment, orange ring. Player places their token on the ring designated by the arrow and then completes what is required on that tile. Player receives the serenity points designated before turn is completed. Player on either jail ring or treatment ring will remain on that ring for 3 turns, and on 4th turn, go to yellow ring, home, where they will remain. On a turn on the home ring, if landing on a jail tile or treatment tile, they will move to the new designated ring and complete the tile activity, and would remain on that ring 3 turns before returning to home tile. Arrows spun to determine serenity points received between 10 and 120 serenity points. Consequence cards tile are natural consequences that happen in recovery which cause stress, decreasing serenity. Player may attempt to offer a reason why that would be a positive experience. If the group agrees it is a sound argument, they can vote thumbs up, giving them the opportunity for the consequence to switch to being positive. The person spins to see how many points they win or lose. Legal issues cards tile are legal areas that affect the recovering player. Player reads the card and again may attempt to persuade their peers that it was a positive experience. The group conscience determines thumbs up or thumbs down. Meeting cards represent how player may benefit from different meetings. This is read aloud and the player spins to see how many serenity points they receive. All meetings generate serenity points, some more than others, just like in real life. Sponsor cards tile represent benefits of having a sponsor, which increases serenity points, 100 serenity points. Or if a player drops below 0 on serenity points, their turn will continue. They go to the sponsor tile on their ring and share what the card reads. They then are awarded 100 serenity points on their scorecard. Who do you call if your life is on fire? Your sponsor. Character defects tile. Players address specific issues surrounding recovery through landing on tiles as described below. Character defect tiles refer to a player sharing a recent character defect that occurred for them and specifics about the incident that occurred. One can refer to the back of the scorecard, which has a list of character defects to review. Once task is completed sincerely, player receives 100 serenity points. Step work tile refers to sharing through personal disclosure on one step and how it is applying to them. Once each task is completed sincerely, player receives 100 serenity points. If landing on the tile again, work on the next step. Step 1, share a personal example that demonstrates powerlessness and unmanageability. Step 2, share a personal example of how you came to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. Step 3, share an example that demonstrates your decision of turning your will and your lives over to the care of God as you understood Him. Steps 4 and 5 to be completed with your sponsor, so skipped. Step 6, identify a character defect that is needed to work on now. What does that behavior give you and what does that behavior cost you? Step 7, in replacing that behavior listed in Step 6 with support of others and your higher power, how will that benefit you in relationships with others? Steps 8 through 9 are to be completed with your sponsor, so are also skipped. Step 10, share personal inventory. What did you do right and what did you do wrong today? Step 11, how am I practicing my spiritual program with prayer and meditation today? Step 12, how am I applying steps in other areas and how am I carrying this message today? Thinking errors, stinking thinking tile. The person gives an example of a specific justification they use to continue with their criminal acts, addictive thinking. Example, I deserve to finish off the alcohol drugs because I got to them first, and they would do the same thing. Once task is completed sincerely, player receives 100 serenity points. Family work tile. Sharing family issues, once completed sincerely, player receives 100 serenity points. Relapse prevention tile. Sharing biggest triggers, then sharing tools in the program you would use and what people you would use for support. Once completed sincerely, player receives 100 serenity points. The game ends with all participants saying the Serenity Prayer. Who won? Everyone wins playing the 12-step game. Alcoholics Anonymous World Services Incorporated. The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions and a brief excerpt from Alcoholics Anonymous are reprinted with permission of Alcoholics Anonymous World Services Incorporated, AAWS. Permission to reprint AA material does not mean that AAWS has reviewed or approved the contents of this publication or that AAWS necessarily agrees with the views expressed herein. AA is a program of recovery from alcoholism only. Use of AA material in connection with programs and activities which are patterned after AA, but which address other problems, or in any other non-AA, but which address other problems, or in any other non-AA context, does not imply otherwise.